Parasee, the spooky alien entity that visited the Piggy universe that we have no idea about. There's no Parasee in the story, it's just an extra character that's there for us to play. But Parasee could be in the Piggy universe as well, since we have the character there, and it's happened before with skins that were only available in the shop before coming into the game and being part of the actual story, like with Distorted Memory. So I'd say it is pretty possible that Parasee could be in the canonical Piggy universe. Now, what if I told you this situation is exactly the same, but in real life? What if I told you a vast majority of scientists believe that something like Parasee could already exist right now somewhere out in the big universe? But then, why haven't we met him yet? Why hasn't he come to turn us into infected piggies with baseball bats or chainsaw prosthetics? Well, I think this is an interesting topic that I'd really like to talk about today. Why haven't we found anything like Parasee yet in real life? Any aliens out there? Hear me out. So firstly, on a universal scale, we can only observe a very, very small fraction of the universe. We're getting better telescopes to upgrade what we can see, so we'll be able to see further soon, but right now we can only see a really small amount. So the general consensus is that for every grain of sand on all beaches on Earth, there are 10,000 stars out there. And then out of that, there are estimated to be 5% to 20% Earth-like stars. Stars like our sun.
Which is a star, by the way, in case you were still in preschool.
So let's go on the conservative side of that. Only 5%. That's 500 billion sun-like stars. And then out of all that, potentially habitable Earth-like planets orbit about 1% of all the stars in the universe. And in our observable universe, that gives us about a total of 100 billion Earth-like planets. Okay, and then imagine after billions of years in existence, and remember, humans have only been around for 200,000 years, 1% of those Earth-like planets develop life. And not even smart, intelligent life. Let's say 1% of that number becomes intelligent, like us or Parasee. That would mean there were 10 quadrillion or 10 million billion intelligent civilizations in just the observable universe that we can see. In our galaxy alone, this means there could be 100,000 intelligent civilizations. And then if they're intelligent as us, they could be making computers, they could be making YouTube. We could have an alien Minitoon creating Minitoon games. Maybe they'll make a game called Puppet, and Puppet will be the big success, and then someone will make a game called Piggy, and that'll be the one that gets shut down.
Puppet still isn't back up.
We've also been looking for them, but why haven't we found any others? Surely there'd be at least one civilization, even in our galaxy, out of 100,000 that have at least made it to our level and are at least sending out some sort of signals. And that's not counting the other 10 million billion out in the other galaxies. Before you say they may not have had enough time to get these radio signals going, well, our sun is actually pretty young in the lifespan of the universe. There are far older stars with far older Earth-like planets out there, which should, in theory, mean civilizations way more advanced than our own, who are billions of years in technology ahead of us. Something like that, with billions of years of technology, why haven't they colonized like every star system? In less than like 200 years, we've gone from just farming the fields to making spaceships and going to Mars. What could we do in like 100,000 years, let alone a billion? So I was curious about this, and I looked up an example, and I found a really good one on this website. It says, as an example, let's compare our 4.54 billion year old Earth to a hypothetical 8 billion year old Planet X. If Planet X has a similar story to Earth, let's have a look at where their civilization should be today. So the green line here is basically saying how much further into the future their technology is and how far they've developed. And the yellow bar represents the length of time between the T-Rex's extinction and the present day. That was a long time. And if you think about it, they'd be to us what we are to the medieval people. Like, do you think a medieval knight in the 16th century, were they around in the 16th century? You think a knight would know what the internet is? Do you think he'd ever imagine that like the internet could be possible? That Netflix could be possible? And that's only like 1,000 years ago versus like 3 billion. They would have technology we couldn't even dream of. Maybe Parasee be streaming Netflix through his space eyes, or space Netflix. I don't know what they'd watch on space Netflix. Hopefully devound. Be sure to like and subscribe if you're enjoying it. So surely by then they'd have some form of technology to just get to other planets and colonize other planets. We're already setting up to go and send people to live on Mars. So for them, it should be easy. In fact, they should be able to replicate across our entire galaxy. So going back to our previous numbers, if only 1% of the intelligent life that was in our galaxy survived long enough to become a galaxy colonizing civilization, there should be 1,000 civilizations in our galaxy alone that have the capability of technology millions of years ahead of us to colonize other planets in our system, like Parasee. And given the power of that civilization, they might have the ability to use a freaking sun as an energy source. And I'm not talking solar, I'm talking about building like a Dyson sphere, which is like a thing that you like put around the sun and you harness the entire sun's energy. Their presence would be pretty noticeable, right? But we see nothing. We haven't been visited by any of them, or at least that we know. So where are they? Where are you, Parasee? I want to shove you in Gorgepag's museum. Well, there are actually a lot of possible explanations for this, all of which are really interesting. One of them is called the Great Filter, which would be an entire video in itself. But basically, the Great Filter would be a giant event that's preventing these civilizations from getting to the point of being able to colonize other galaxies. And it would be a horrible thing if it's in front of us, because that means we're about to reach a point that stops us from being able to colonize other galaxies, which would likely destroy the human race. Another one relating to the Great Filter is that it's actually behind us, and the hard filter was like intelligent life, and that would greatly reduce the odds of other species being around, so it makes sense that we wouldn't have ran into any. Another explanation is that the universe just recently cooled down enough for life to spawn, and we're one of the first people here. We could be the Parasee to other people. We could be the ones that go to their planet and be like, give us your leader, we will take everything of yours, or we'll come in peace. But they'll be the ones quaking to us. And maybe, just maybe, there'll be a Gorgepag out there. However, another interesting explanation as to why we haven't seen a Parasee yet is that civilizations that reach the technology level to be able to visit and colonize other planets and maybe even other galaxies is that there may be logical reasons why we haven't heard from them, why they choose not to come over here. One of those possibilities is that maybe they did visit Earth before, but it was way before we were here. Remember, humans have only really been around for 50,000 years, and if they came anytime before them, they just would have seen the dinosaurs and been like, oh, it's just another one of those planets with like random four-legged creatures. That's pretty weird. Let's get out of here, Dave. We gotta go watch space Netflix. Oh yeah, and recorded history only goes back 5,500 years. So maybe a hunter-gatherer tribe did meet a Parasee, but they just had no way to record it. Another possibility, the galaxy has been colonized, but we just live in some desolate rural area of the galaxy. We'd be like one of the islands in the Pacific. You know, some of those islands in the Pacific haven't been explored yet, so we'd be like that, but in the Milky Way, and no one would want to come visit us because we're just like, we're out in the jungle, we're just randomly out there. Possibility number 3, which probably is a cool one, they'd have no reason to go and colonize. If they have the energy of a star to power whatever they're doing, perhaps they could just live in a perfect environment, in a utopia, where they wouldn't need to go out and explore. Everything would be perfect for them. Maybe they live in a matrix or something, who knows? Number 4 possibility, there is one super intelligence out there that is far more advanced than everything else and keeps it that way by exterminating any intelligent civilizations once they get past a certain level. And this would be bad. Maybe it's an inefficient use of resources to exterminate all the emerging intelligences, partly because most of them die on our own. Like, we nearly had a freaking nuclear Cold War. Most of us would have died if that happened. But then past a certain point, they recognize you as a threat to them, and then they come swoop in and it's bye-bye. That could be how Piggy starts. They sent in a Piggy infection virus. Minitoon predicted it all. And let's speed around the past few ones. So number 5, there's plenty of activity and noise out there, but our technology is too primitive and we're listening for the wrong things. We might not know the right signals, but they're trying to contact us, but we don't know them. We're just sending out random radio waves. They're trying to send us space Netflix, but we're not getting it. Number 6, put on your tinfoil hats because we are getting signals and the government could be hiding it. That's a dumb possibility, but you always have to mention it for them. There are conspiracy theorists out there. Number 7, did I already say number 7? Those space aliens, they are aware of us and they're observing us right now. Parasee could just be watching us on the Space Zoo channel. Similar to how we see animals in a zoo, we could be in the zoo. What if we're the zoo animals? Number 8, they are already here. They're all around us, but we're just too dumb and primitive to actually know that they're there. Similar to how if we have an anthill in the middle of a forest, SCARIEST. And right next to the anthill, they're building a 10-lane superhighway. The question is, would the ants be able to understand what a 10-lane superhighway is? And would they be able to understand the technology and understand what the motive of it is? We could be the ants in this case, not knowing what's going on. Well, what do you think about all this, everybody? What's your theory as to why we haven't seen any Parasees yet? Do you think we're alone? Do you think that maybe the only place Parasee will exist is in Piggy? But for now, you can sleep safe and sound because Parasee won't be crawling into your bed asking you for your space Netflix password just yet. I'll see you in tomorrow's video. Goodbye!